Mephisto is here. Slight spoilers for Agatha All Along episode 3. Nothing major, but they do name drop Mephisto, and you've most likely heard about this already, and I have certainly done videos on it. But up until this very specific point, we didn't know if this actually meant anything or if it was just a little tease, if it was just a little Easter egg that Marvel Studios was throwing at us because we had so many Mephisto theories for Wandavision. But as it turns out, it looks like Marvel Studios actually does have some really big plans for Mephisto in the MCU. And considering his connection to the Darkhold and Agatha's connection to the Darkhold, which they've already started to explore in Agatha All Along, it makes total sense story-wise, continuity-wise, and let's just be honest, fan-wise, because of all the theories that we have, for him to show up in the MCU eventually. Plus, let's not forget, Deadline reported a while ago that their sources told them that they believe Sacha Baron Cohen, who is going to be in the Ironheart series, is playing Mephisto. So Agatha All Along might be setting up Mephisto in a very big way, but let's hear directly from Marvel Studios, specifically Marvel Studios' Agatha All Along showrunner Jac Schaeffer, who was also the showrunner for Wandavision. We have 2 interviews to go over with Jac Schaeffer, and it's really cool because Jac Schaeffer basically acknowledges, yeah, we heard all of the Mephisto theories. And in these interviews, she's essentially going, yeah, you know, we put him in there as sort of a nod and a wink to the fans, but also there is something going on there. There is an actual story that they're going to play out, either in Agatha All Along or in the future of the MCU, or both, and I'm assuming it's probably both. Speaking with Total Film magazine, Jac Schaeffer was asked to kind of further explain the Mephisto, what they call payoff. They finally said the name, so Mephisto is officially MCU canon, and she did confirm. She said it is a nod and a wink, and she specifically said, yes, the Mephisto mention was a nod, definitely. Yes. And in that same interview, she said this, and I quote, "So the fan theories themselves don't inform like the actual plotting that I do or that Marvel does either. It's really more, I like to think about what is the thing people are engaging on? Like, what is the thing that's sort of lighting them up? And is it the thing that's lighting me up? That's where I feel that I'm successful and my team is successful. We can find that sweet spot of we are excited about it. It's making our brains tingle and making us want to dress up, but it's also having that effect on fans." End quote. So basically what she is stating right here is that when they are sort of brainstorming about the story and the overall plot and where it's going to start and end and everything in between, and specifically for Agatha, when thinking about all of this, she was thinking about what the fans wanted, what Marvel Studios wanted, and where was that sweet spot. And that's where Mephisto comes into play, but she says even more in a different interview with Entertainment Weekly. And this is where we get our big confirmation that Mephisto is actually a character that isn't going to be just a name drop, at least not just once, implying that there is definitely a story here. And we already know that because of what we saw in Agatha All Along, episode 3. But more details about that in a bit. In the interview with Entertainment Weekly, she was specifically talking about the connection between Mephisto and Agatha, and she says, and I quote, "With these shows, so often there is something that is at once a joke and a wink and a nod, and actually has something legitimate underneath it. As we all know, Mephisto is a character who's very wrapped into Agatha's storyline. I mean, people have to watch, but we're always playing with the audience in that way." End quote. So she confirms right here. She said it was once a joke, and what we did, name dropping Mephisto, was a wink and a nod, but then she said, and it actually has something legitimate underneath it. So she confirms right there is something legitimate underneath the name drop. It's not just a name drop to be like, hey, remember you guys were really obsessed with Mephisto for WandaVision? Every video you did, looking at you, Cosmic Wonder, was about Mephisto when it came to WandaVision? Well, hey, we're not just teasing that because of all that happened. There's actually a story here. And she teases that. She says, we all know Mephisto is a character who's very wrapped into Agatha's storyline. And I think this story is going to be a lot bigger than most people think, not just because of Agatha All Along, but because Mephisto really has connections to so many people in the comics. Even Doctor Doom. In fact, Doctor Doom and Mephisto are enemies. At one point in time, Mephisto takes Doctor Doom's mother to the Hell Dimension, and Doctor Doom has to get the help of Doctor Strange to go to the Hell Dimension to try and save his mother. Plus, not to mention the big connection that Mephisto has to Wanda and her children in the comics, and it looks like that is playing out exactly the same way as it does in the comics in the MCU. But let's wrap back to Agatha All Along. Now, slight spoilers for Agatha All Along episode 3 if you haven't seen it yet. The big name drop of Mephisto was about Agatha giving her son to Mephisto for the Darkhold, or what they call the Book of the Damned. They are the exact same thing. Jen says, did you know that she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned? And this really upsets Teen. And my theory is that he might think Agatha is his mother. And I think Agatha might believe that he could possibly be her son as well. Reincarnated, that is, because that is how it happens in the comics. Just like in the MCU, Mephisto kind of creates Wanda's kids. They are parts of his soul. Eventually, he takes them back and Wanda goes mad. And that is essentially what we got in the MCU. Wanda kind of created her kids. They were taken away. She kind of went mad in Multiverse of Madness. But based off of everything that we've been hearing about the Scarlet Witch solo project and her future in the MCU, she is going to be coming back in a big way. And I wouldn't be surprised if she actually teamed up with Agatha. So what people say is that Agatha traded her son for the Book of the Damned, but then when she sees one of her worst fears caused by the poison that she drank, she sees in replacement of a child in a bassinet, the Darkhold, further hinting to the audience that yes, that is true. She traded her son to Mephisto to get the Darkhold. Now, we already basically know that Teen is Billy, aka Wiccan, the son of the Scarlet Witch, so it does look like we are going to be exploring some type of reincarnation story plot in Agatha All Along. But Agatha traded her son for the Darkhold, and now the Darkhold is gone because of the Scarlet Witch destroying them in every single universe. That's probably a really big deal to Agatha, and that might actually mean something to Mephisto as well. And once Agatha gets her powers back, this might be a pretty big deal. And Mephisto himself has been rumored to be a big deal as well. In fact, it's been rumored that Mephisto is actually going to be a big bad of the MCU. Now, sadly, this might not happen for a while. It actually kind of depends on Blade. Mephisto was supposed to be a big bad of the mystic side, the supernatural side of the MCU. That's why he is supposed to appear in the Ironheart series as well. He is supposedly supposed to give the Hood his powers. And long ago, we heard that he might be the one who purchased the Avengers Tower from Tony Stark. And for a while, that did make sense since he was going to be in Ironheart, which of course is going to be about Iron Man tech. And from what Marvel Studios has told us, it's going to be about tech versus magic. But it does seem like the Thunderbolts trailer has confirmed that the Avengers Tower was possibly bought by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, or at least if she didn't buy it, they're using it. But we also know that Marvel Studios has switched their plans a lot ever since the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. and kind of long before that when everything started to happen with Jonathan Majors. So perhaps that was a plan at some point in time, but due to certain situations that happened and of course the delayment of Blade, the supernatural side of the MCU might be postponed until after Avengers Secret Wars, which would mean the story of Mephisto would probably end with Ironheart for a long time, for a few years. But Marvel Studios isn't going to start the supernatural side and then end it with Secret Wars. It'll continue on after, and we assume that Mephisto is going to be a pretty big deal. He is a really big deal in the comics, so it would make sense to bring him into the MCU, especially after WandaVision and all of the fan theories out there. But no matter what happens, the great news is that Marvel Studios themselves have confirmed this isn't just a name drop. It isn't just a wink and a nod. It is a wink and a nod, but not just that. There is something underneath, something legitimate, as Jac Schaeffer said, and the story of Mephisto is going to play out in Agatha All Along and other projects moving forward in the MCU. So this is really exciting news. Too bad we didn't know this a few years ago with WandaVision, but we have it now. We have our confirmation, so let me know how excited you are in the comments down below, and please do not forget to like this video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on the MCU, Agatha All Along, and of course, Mephisto. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.